Good morning. Okay, I was a teacher. Good morning. That wasn't good enough. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. There we go. Thank you for joining in with me on that, and the teachers certainly understand that. President Caggiano, thank you, and thank you all for the kind invitation to join you on what is a very important day. I did a day similar to this, not here at Shady Side, but across a few hills over at Shaler, 40 years ago. In the evening over at the football field at Shaler High School. Now, I have no idea who spoke to us that day. And I guarantee you, 5 years from now, you won't remember either. You'll be going through, hopefully have gone through a college commencement at that point in time, and that speaker, you're not going to remember either. It's just part of life. It really is. And you are now entering on life. You know, the term commencement, many of you look at it this way, as it's the end. You just drop something there. You look at it as the end. Well, it's not the end. It's the beginning. Commencement means to go forward. And that's what you're doing here today. So let me congratulate you on the completion of one segment of your education, but also congratulate you on the beginning of a great journey. That journey can lead you anywhere in this state, in this country, or in this world. It has certainly led me throughout the world, because once you finish your formal education, you do not finish your education. If you do, you start going backwards. So I encourage you to always continue to focus on your education, whether it's formal or informal. You've now made it through 12 years of schooling. And I was listening to the anthem, and I looked at it and said, you are the new day. Well, you are. You are the new generation. I look around in the audience at the parents and grandparents and friends and family. Many have hair the color of mine. When we were in your situation, nobody knew what a cell phone was. If you wanted to make a public phone call, you went to a payphone and put a dime in. I challenge you to go find a public payphone today. We had 3 to 4 channels on television. We did not have ESPN. Now I want you to think about what you're going to see in the period of time between now and the time that you have the gray hair and the education and the experience. Not just what you're going to have, but what you are going to create. Because you're going to go off to college, you're going to have an opportunity at college to learn. You're going to have an opportunity to challenge. You're going to have an opportunity, as Alex said, to give back. Yes, it'll be financial, but it'll also be to give back to your community. And I'll talk about that here in a minute. But you've now made it through 12 years of school. Probably even 2 years ago, you thought to yourself, we'll never get out of here. But you're going. There may be a time that you would say to yourself, I wish I was back there. And I guarantee you there will be a time that you will say, I wish I could go back, but knowing what I know now back then. And I listen to all the parents that are laughing along with me. You had to overcome some doubts in your schooling. Was the math maybe for some of you difficult, and was it ever going to be of a practical use? You had calculators. We had slide rules. We'll see if you can find one of those antiques. Who was ever going to read that research paper that you wrote other than your teacher? You hold on to those. They may come back in your archives somewhere down the road. And would you ever really use that Latin or the Chinese or the Spanish that you took? You never know. You sit here as young adults, about to launch into that next phase and that next era of education and get the first taste of really independence and college life. Alex, the comment about the crazy person down the end of the hall, he's absolutely right. And parents will agree with me. But it isn't necessarily that they're crazy, they're just different. And they may have a different perspectives. So be friendly to them. I know you have spent some very important years here, and it has built that foundation. And that's exactly what it is. It's a foundation. You've learned calculus, maybe French, the details of cell reproduction. Many of you are about to set off for a college or university here or somewhere around the world. You might be heading out for Pitt or Penn State, or let's see, I got Carnegie Mellon behind me, Columbia behind me, Wellesley behind me, I think. I'm trying to remember all of them. Lehigh. Major schools, smaller schools. But what you're heading out for isn't the name of the school. It's the education you'll receive. But let me give you a cautionary tale. And it's important. It's important particularly for you going into college. But it was about people just leaving college. And it was directed to the graduating seniors of colleges this year. It was in the Wall Street Journal just a few weeks ago. The head of a company in the digital field published an op-ed, and this was the headline. It said, "Sorry, college grads, I probably won't hire you." That's not exactly the happiest headline, and when I saw it, I continued to read it. But there's a lesson in the story that the op-ed had. The writer explained that he had plenty of jobs that were available, and they had good starting salaries. But the college graduates who came through his door, he said, weren't prepared with the technical knowledge that they needed to understand the basic way his company works. Not how the computer worked, how his company worked. Knowledge which is needed to understand how long a project might take, or what basic obstacles that project might face. He's not saying that all college graduates need to become computer programmers. What he is saying that if you want a job, and Alex will know this, in media, in marketing, in technology, or anything related, you would be well served to keep up and understand computers, but to broaden your education and to understand not only new technologies, but many other fields. I know many of you are growing up now in the digital age. Probably every one of you has a Facebook page. And if you, I was making a political comment, but I'll stay away from it for a moment. Just be careful. I was a prosecutor. Be careful what you put on there. But the larger point is this: regardless of what direction that you want to take in your future, bring it back upon yourself to make sure that you're prepared for whatever field you hope to work in. Do the work. Do the homework, if you want to call it homework. Do the lesson work. Learn what a company does before you go in for an interview. The world has many, many experts, proclaimed and self-proclaimed. But what it really needs is people with practical knowledge and the ability then to use it effectively. More importantly, you must take it upon yourself, as I said earlier, never to stop learning. Success requires that you do more than one thing very well. And it requires that you have not only the ability to do the job, but to continue to learn, the ability to adapt and understand new things very, very quickly. In so many ways, that's what you've been doing for the last 12 years. You've been learning to learn. Thinking about that phrase for a moment, learning to learn. You've been getting your minds in shape so that you can begin the next level of your education. And I presume that with many of you, there will be many more levels of education. A task that you will only succeed in if you come to understand that that education we've been talking about is never finished. Many of you will leave here with the impression that your character and your worldview are fairly well formed right now. You're walking out of here, I know what I know. That you know and believe everything, and that further education will only confirm what you already know. There are many of us in this field who probably felt the same way, and we certainly let our parents know it. I can also promise you, though, that many of you will come to realize that feeling of confidence was actually a feeling of false confidence, and it may have held you back. If you think you already know everything, you tend to stop learning and tend to stop exploring. Keep in mind a very simple story. You've ever heard the story about the elephant and the three blind men? The three blind men were asked to describe what an elephant looked like. One gentleman was placed by the leg of an elephant, and he was feeling the leg. And he said, well, it feels like it's a tree. You got the trees beside us, and you can understand that. One was placed at the end. The tail was placed in his hand. which made him say that this feels like a rope. And one put his hand on the trunk. And the trunk was moving around. That convinced him that the elephant was kind of like maybe a very fat snake. Every one of them was right in the part that they saw. Yet, in the entirety, they were wrong. You can't cling to that single idea of what you can touch, and in this case, not see. And that's why you have to continue to explore and to see and to question what you see. The greatest service I think you can do for yourself is to keep that inquisitive spirit. You have something that we never had with the computers. And you have the ability to go online and Google this and Google that. That term didn't even exist 15 years ago when you started your education. And when you were born, it certainly was just, the computers were really just starting to take off at that time. So I would say to you, never stop asking why or how. Always look to expand your understanding. And it can be very popular to tell you to question authority, and I'm sure that you will question authority. But it's going to take real wisdom and judgment to question your own beliefs, and then to demand a very clear answer. There is one last thing that you should know about life. We do live in a country that guarantees equality of opportunity, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should expect equality of results. Some of you will be more successful than others, and that too is part of the learning process that we all go through. Our United States Department of Labor, though, in talking about one point about where you're going to be, estimated that people will change jobs 11 times during their career. 11 times. There was a time in your grandparents' age and my parents' age where somebody went and took a job and stayed there their entire career. That just doesn't happen today. Careers don't just require that body of knowledge. It demands that we leave our comfort zone and remain open to new things. It's always great to watch a senior citizen, I mean a 90-year-old, because I'm over 60, so I guess I'm senior. A 90-year-old working a cell phone, working a computer, because they continue to challenge themselves. Sometimes you have to allow the currents of life to carry you where it will. For instance, when I grew up 2 hills over, when I was little, I wanted to play second base for the Pittsburgh Pirates. You were talking about baseball skills? I couldn't hit a ball. My dream was to do that. Then it was to become a lawyer. I finally did become a lawyer. But first I became a teacher. And it has taken me from different jobs to different jobs. Teacher, to lawyer, to prosecutor, to businessman, and now to governor. And I guarantee you, when I sat in that graduating class 40-some years ago, there is nobody in that class, and no faculty member, that ever said Tom Corbett's going to be governor of Pennsylvania, including me. But you have to seize opportunities. You can't be afraid to reach out and reach for the stars. All the talent and education in the world would not have helped me if I was unwilling to stretch, to reach for new things. You have to be able to recognize the occasional setback when a door is closed in your face. It can be the opportunity that a window right next door is open for you to go through. Or realize that occasional critic, and trust me, I have a few of them out there, have something to teach you. The trick is in finding that balance between when to speak and when to listen. I often tell people, speak up and listen. You want to be heard in life, and as you go off to college, you will certainly be heard in life. You are in that process of learning, and it is bound that you are going to have something very important to say. But every spoken word, if it is to mean anything, requires that somebody is listening. Be nice, as Alex said, and listen to your friends as they will listen to you. One of the best ways of persuading people is using your ears and to hear what they have to say and then comment. Simply listen to them. Remember, one of the things, and I always say this, that I would ask you to do, is you now have a new stage in your life, where you have responsibilities, where you have opportunities. Some of those responsibilities can be public service. I encourage you to consider public service. Some of you might go off to the military. Some of you might go and work for Habitat for Humanity. I hope you consider running for office someday. Which one of you is going to be the one that say, I never thought that that person would be governor, but they could be sitting right here in front of me. Take the trouble to know more about what we do in government than simply the sound bites that you hear on TV or see going across the internet. Accept civic responsibility. Most of all, embrace new ideas and embrace new people. Walk outside that comfort zone that we have been talking about and know that there are many truths out there that you haven't learned yet, and you may not learn until you're 50 or 60. And yes, I know that that feels like a long time away for you. Trust me, to those of us with gray hair, it wasn't that long ago we were in your seats. Life will challenge you to embrace as many of those opportunities as you can along your path, wherever that path may lead you. And let me share with you 6 words that we have over the door to our house, over off of Middle Road, if you know the area here, not far from here. And it's what I see every day when I'm home that I walk out. It's these 6 words, and I think these are 6 very good words to remember. Live life. Laugh often. Love much. Good luck on your careers. Thank you all very much.